Okay, welcome back to members of 121 Community Church in Grapevine, Texas, and our ongoing study in Metaphysics by Borden Parker Bowne, published in 1882. We're going to take a look at pages 118 to 146 as we continue to examine the system of being plus idea, which equals becoming process. In block 1, we'll take a look at inferring agency of an immanent omnipresence. Bowne tells us that all-embracing being is the unity of his system. Unity is constituted by one immanent omnipresence. The multiple causal units make up a self-supporting circle or a self-supporting system, and interaction is the bond between the signs that make up the system. The parts are the manifest phases of the holistic system. There is one true being. If you look at note 2, there is one true being. The causal units are ontologically distinct, and they exist in a mediated unity. The one true being is manifested in its many modes. Interaction is the immanent action within the one true being. Interaction takes place between the finite and the infinite. The infinite imprints the finite as an interaction within this one true being. So we move on to look at the finite and the infinite in note 3. Transcendent action does reconcile individuality and community together. It consists of the incarnate action of the one true being. The infinite is the self-sufficient source of all finitude. All things acquire rational ordering within the infinite. The infinite is the source of the true eidos ideas. Rational ordering in the system is also due to the infinite, and the posited real is that which defines the infinite as well. It also derives from the infinite. So agency is based on, first of all, the recognition that there is one true being, and the one true being is present in an immanent and omnipresent way. Now we move on to the concrete. In block 2, we take a look at agency and the concrete forms of activity of this one true being. And Bowne tells us that if you look at note 1, the infinite is the unitary agent. Each thing is a mode of the entire infinite. Being is a causal agency. We understand being as a causal agency. And that leads us to note 2, the only selfhood attains to substantial otherness as finite spirit. To create means to posit something into existence, and creative act mediates between the finite and the infinite. The finite is the manifestation of the metaphysical plan. It is the manifestation of the metaphysical plan in concrete forms of activity. Therefore, if you look at note 3, concrete forms of activity plus the positing conscious selfhood equals the manifestation of this agency of the one true being. The finite is an expression of the nature of the infinite. The infinite equals the determining categorical principle for all of existence. All is dependent on the plan, and all is dependent on the nature of the infinite one true being. So the plan and the nature of the infinite one true being determines all of finitude, all of the true, and all of the real. And that takes us on to block 3 and reaching and defining first principles. we've understood the agency of an immanent omnipresence of the one true being, which is manifested in concrete forms of activity, and that leads us to define the first principles underlying this immanent omnipresence. And if you look at note 1, manifestations of the true and the real, the hidden infinite plan lies beyond sensate observation. Rational deductions can only form hypothetical assertions. We can only form an hypothesis that must be verified. The nature of the real is learned from experience. The true, or the first principles, or the laws, is also founded upon the nature of the infinite. These true laws are always expressions of being. The true categorical laws are expressions of being. So note 2, under expressions of being, the real is the foundation of the activity of being. The state of mind influences the law of the real. The activity of being is always personalistic, and it's enforced upon subjects, not just objects. The real infinite becomes manifested as the categorical laws and the conceptual principles and the phenomena within finitude. So the infinite of the real is manifested as categorical laws and conceptual principles. So if you look at note 3, block 3, note 3, formal law and theoretical truth is always expressed as system. And Bowne tells us that the next imaginary system that we construct is always based on the previous present system. So it's an ongoing construction, an ongoing refinement of system. And then B, axiological law, or practical positing. Agency must have a definite way of working. The posited real takes on a definite mode of activity. And then 3, personalistic law and outgoing desire. All conceptual principles come into play here. Conceptual principles are consequences of the base infinite being. Space and time are also internal to being, not independent existences. The unity of the real is the overarching determining principle for all of created finitude. The unity of the real. So we have categorical laws consisting of the formal and the axiological and the personalistic. And the formal is the theoretical system of truth ideas gathered into system. The axiological is that practical positing of that theoretical system. And the personalistic is our outgoing desire of actual praxis ministry. So we get a better look at just how detailed this overall formula of being plus idea equals process of becoming. The process of becoming is a process that reveals agency. And for Bowne, agency is an immanent omnipresence. And as we discover this immanent omnipresence, we discover it through the forms of activity that we encounter within reality, and those forms of activity are expressions and manifestations of the one true being. And through this critical examination of the phenomena of the one true being, we can learn, gather and learn. It's a process of learning through dialectic that the one true being is expressed as formal law, axiological law, and personalistic law, and then a multitude of conceptual principles abbreviated under those laws, the theoretical, the practical, and the outgoing ministry. So basically, in this fifth lesson, we get a chance to get a look at the infinite as the source of the eidos ideas, which become ordered into a rational system and then become posited as real. The true becomes posited as real. Remember, the realm of positing is the realm of the real. And then out of that positing, we move on to recognizing that finitude itself does express the nature of the infinite. The infinite is always in the process of imprinting finitude, and it imprints finitude through the participation of subjects like ourselves who posit the categorical principles and the conceptual the categorical laws and the conceptual principles that define this one true being and the plan and nature of the one true being as the infinite imprinting finitude, In that process of imprinting finitude is an expression of the process of a unification of the real under the overarching authority of this categorical determinate law. So it gives us a great deal of additional content. There's only one more lesson, chapter 6, coming up after this lesson, beginning with page 147, and that will wrap up the first half of the book. So we're getting close to wrapping up that first half, or first book, I should say, the first half of the book, that really did define system and transcendence, and now the imprinting of the finitude by infinity. So we've had the chance to truly look at system, transcendence, and the unification through imprinting finitude. And we will pick up next time on page 147.